I've heard a rumor that Grandpa Danny Goddard is in the crowd, but I haven't spied him yet.
I don't want to follow that line.
I was going to say, are you going to come just tell some Goddard or Hat Creek area stories? Okay. Danny can be just pretty darned entertaining if he chooses to be so.
We'll forget about the introduction because the girls already stole all my material. Dudley Field Store used to be across the road north of the old schoolhouse up here. And when they changed the highway, Dud moved it over where it sits now. And I assume the post office made the change shortly thereafter to Mabel and Lou Osborne's homestead. But getting back to Dud, when I was 12 years old, I got my first turkey license. Well, the only thing we had to shoot was a 12-gauge shotgun, and sometimes it was a double barrel, and if you pulled one trigger, sometimes the second one would go off at the same time. So anyway, Dad decided, he asked Dud, because he knew Dud had a 410 shotgun. He said, "Can we borrow that 410 from you?" And Dud said, "Yeah." And so then Dud loaned us the shotgun, and we bought a box of shells off of his shelf up there behind the cash register. And on the way home, why, a bunch of turkeys ran across the front of us and stuff. So I bailed out with my shotgun and my box of shells. And Dad said, "Make sure if you shoot it, to shoot it in the head." And so I did. And I got my turkey. When we started dressing it, well, we found out there was a patch of shot less than the diameter of a dime in the head, and one BB went to the leg. Those shells have been sitting on the shelf for so long that they were growed together. Back over here on a ridge someplace, and I don't know where we're at, we was trailing cows down through there years ago with Bob Scott coming from the north end of Goshen County. We'd get the cows over here to the clubhouse, and then we'd split the bunches. Bob's cows would go down Old 85 to his place, and we'd go down the Hat Creek Road to the store and cut across to our place. Well, anyway, we was back on a ridge over here, and I'm wanting to say the Rice homestead, but I'm not sure that's right. But anyway, Pop Scott rode up to me and he says, "Dan, get off of that guy." I looked at him and I said, "What?" He said, "You need to get off of that guy." Well, I didn't know what he was talking about. He says, "Back your horse up and look down." So I did. And there was a rectangular perimeter of rocks there. And he said, "There's a soldier buried there." And where he got his information, I don't know, or the particulars, he never said anything about it. But anyway, I got off the guy and I rode around him and we went on our way. So, J.P. Jensen had a great big, I don't know whether it was a steam tractor or if it was one of the big fuel oil tractors, but he did all the threshing for everybody around the neighborhood. And he would travel from place to place and they would thresh oats and rye, you know, was the main two crops and everything. And so, and he had several boys that were pretty capable, so I don't know if I think the landowner got the help, but I don't know how much help they were. Ed Cook and Morse Keel used to race chariots. Burr Bryant helped. They'd race in Lusk and Harrison, the Guernsey Old Timers Rodeo, Douglas State Fair, and I'm not sure about this, but I think Cheyenne, because one of the guys they raced with was George and Paul Brugman, and they were from Cheyenne. Ed Cook had a very unique horse brand. It was EC, but to read it you had to lift the horse's tail up, and it was at the base of the tail. That's where that brand was at. And I'm not sure I would want to have been the one to put that brand on. The Hat Creek Ladies Community, or Ladies Club in the Hat Creek community, they'd have a card party once a month, one Saturday a month. And usually up here at the clubhouse or at various people's homes, you know. But anyway, after the card party was over, if it was in the wintertime, why the men all went out to start the cars to warm them up or to start the heaters and everything like that. And of course, somebody always had some libation underneath the seat. So they'd partake of that to take the chill off. You used to have dances at the clubhouse, a Christmas party, picnic at the Cindy Park, where ice cream and pie was for dessert. There was two guys that really liked ice cream, and they used to see who could eat the most. It was Ed Cook and my Uncle Alan. So when they dished their ice cream up for them, they filled cream can lids full of ice cream, and they handed one to each one of them. Morse Keel had a Mexican saddle that he rode for, or rode in parades with. And the saddle horn on that thing was probably the size of a small dinner plate. I'd never seen one before. Then at one of the intermissions at County Fair, why everybody would go to the city park, and there used to be a band shell there. Morse Keel would get up there and he would recite cowboy poetry for hours. No notes, all from memory, and do it at least a couple hours every time he did it. I asked my dad one time, I says, how come we can't put hay up down here like they do up on top? And he said, well, it takes twice as much to winter a cow up there as what it does down here. So he said, the good Lord provides for them. He said, when you come down over the hill, he says, you're into the Hat Creek Valley, he says, you're entering God's country. I have a lot of fond memories of my growing up years, and I don't think I'd trade any of them for anything. Being raised in the Hat Creek Valley. Thank you.